Hello guys and welcome back. This is yet another skirt tutorial using a different method, but this time we'll be drafting a skirt with 2 darts on the front skirt and 2 darts on the back skirt, making a total of 4 darts on both patterns and a total of 8 darts when sewn into a skirt garment. As always, the starting point for any drafting tutorial is knowing the measurements that will be needed. And the needed measurements are waist circumference, hip depth, hip circumference, and skirt length. The next segment in this tutorial is showing how to take the needed measurements on a real body so that you will get a better understanding of the reference point of each needed measurements. The waist measurement is a measurement that can be obtained or taken 2 ways. One is to take the waist circumference, add some ease, then divide by 4. This method is appropriate for someone who relatively measures about the same in the front and back. Measure half of the waist at the front from side seam to side seam, then divide by 2. This method is more accurate for a person that carries more weight in the stomach, like an apple-shaped person. And for the back, measure from side seam to side seam, then divide by 2. Again, this method is more accurate for an apple-shaped person. I showed 2 ways of taking the waist measurement so that you can have the option of using whichever method you're more comfortable with, and to also have the option of using which one is more suitable depending on the person you're measuring. The next measurement is the hip depth. With an elastic band or rope tied around the waist and hip, measure the vertical length from waist to hip point. The next measurement is the hip circumference. This also is a measurement that can be obtained or taken 2 ways. One is to take the hip circumference, add some ease, then divide by 4. This method is accurate for someone who relatively measures about the same in the front and back. Measure half of the hip at the front from side seam to side seam, then divide by 2. This method is more accurate for someone that carries more weight at the back or buttocks than the front. And for the back measurement, measure from side seam to side seam, then divide by 2. Again, this measurement is more accurate for someone that carries more weight in the back or buttocks. Again, I showed 2 ways of taking the hip measurement so that you can have the option of choosing whichever one is more suitable for your drafting project. The next measurement is the dart placement. Again, this is another measurement that can be obtained or taken in 2 ways. One is to measure from apex to apex divided by 2. Using this method, my dart placement is 4 inches. Measure from the belly button to the apex point at the waistline. To do this, locate your belly button and use your finger to trace it to your waist. Then measure from that point to the apex point at your waist. Notice that the two methods gives a different outcome. The apex to apex divided by 2 method is 4 inches and the other method outcome is 3¼ inches. The reason for this is simple. We are wider at the bust area than the waist area. The last measurement is the skirt length. Measure from the waist to your desired length. This measurement applies to both the front and back skirt. Since I couldn't take this measurement on myself, I had to demonstrate it on a dress form. Cut out your drafting paper. Make sure the edges are straight and equal, meaning that both the vertical and horizontal edges are straight and equal. Then draw a 1-inch line on both the vertical ends of the paper that is the measurement of your desired skirt length plus 4 to 5 inches extra. That 4 to 5 inch extra is to draft the waist and hemline of the skirt. From the horizontal top edge of the paper, come down 2 inches and draw a line across. That line will represent the waistline. The next step is to determine the width of the front and back skirt block or rectangle. Using my example, I measured 10 3/4 along the waistline from the 1-inch center back line. To make sure I have a straight line, I measured 10 3/4 inches at different points along the 1-inch line. This will ensure that the line that will represent your side seam line will be straight. Repeat the same process for the front skirt. Using my example, the width of my front skirt block is 10 1/4 inches wide. Then draw a solid line to make the side seam lines more visible. From the corner of the waistline and the 1-inch line, measure downwards the length of your hip depth on the front and back skirt. Measure the hip depth length along the side seam line as well. Using my example, I measured 8¼ inches. Then draw a line across to connect all the points. The next step is to calculate the waist length for the front and back waistline. And the waist calculation is waist circumference plus ½ inch each divided by 4. Then to the front waist, add ¼ inch, and to the back waist, subtract ¼ inch. And the reason for this is because as human, we measure a little more in the front than the back because of our stomach. To the front waist, add a 1-inch dart intake. Using my example, my front waist is 7½ plus 1-inch dart intake equals 8½. So I measured 8½ along the waistline starting at the intersection of the 1-inch line and the waistline. To the back waist, add a 2-inch dart intake. Using my example, my back waist is 7 inches plus 2 inches of dart intake equals 9 inches. So I measured 9 inches along the waistline starting at the intersection of the 1-inch line and the waistline. The next step is the dart position. I use the belly button to apex measurement. My belly button to apex measurement is 3¼ so I measured 3¼ inches along the back waistline from the intersection or corner of the 1-inch line and the waistline. That will be the first dart position. Because each dart is 1 inch wide, from the 3¼ point, measure 1 inch wide for the first dart width. Next, find the midpoint of the 1-inch dart. From the 1-inch point, measure 1¼ inch wide. That would be the space between the two darts. From the 1¼ inch point, measure another 1 inch wide for the second dart. Then find the midpoint of the second dart. Next step is to draw the dart legs. Both darts for the back skirt is 5 inches long. Draw a line that is 5 inches long at the midpoint of the first dart. Then connect the dart legs like so. Repeat the same process for the second dart. Draw a line that is 5 inches long at the midpoint of the second dart. Then connect the dart legs. Next, lower the back waistline by ½ inch. From the corner of the 1-inch line and waistline, square ½ inch downwards. The same process of drafting the dart placement will be repeated for the front skirt. Again, at the corner of the 1-inch line and the waistline on the front skirt, measure 3¼ along the front waistline. That will be the first dart position. Because each dart is 1/2 inch wide from the 3¼ point, measure 1/2 inch wide for the first dart width. Then find the midpoint of the first dart. From the 1/2 inch point, measure out 1¼ That will be the space between the two darts. Then from the 1¼ point, measure another 1/2 inch. That will be the second dart. Then find the midpoint of the second dart. Next step is to draw the dart legs. Both dart legs for the front skirt is 4 inches long. Draw a line that is 4 inches long at the midpoint of each dart. Next, raise the side seam for the front and back skirt by 1/4 inch. Next, use a French curve ruler to draw the waist curve. Connect the lower waist point to the side seam point on the back skirt. Draw the waist curve for the front skirt also, but remember you do not need to lower the front skirt waist. Next, use a French curve ruler to draw the side seam curve on the front and back skirt. Next, add 1/2 inch seam allowance to the side seam but not to the waistline, because to the waistline we are going to do a dart extension. The next step is to check for identical side seam on both the front and back skirt. To do that, fold the skirt to align the 1-inch line and the hip depth line. That will automatically align the side seam. Then make the necessary correction if there's a need to. For the purpose of this tutorial, I highlighted the skirt waistline to make it more visible. To do the dart extension, fold the dart legs closest to the 1-inch vertical line on both the front and back skirt and secure it in place with a tape. Notice that the excess of the dart leg will fold towards the 1-inch vertical line on both the front and back skirt. After folding the darts, check to see if the waist is level and that there is a smooth waist curve. The waist curve on the front skirt is smooth and level, but the back skirt waist curve is not. Use a curve roller to level the waist to create a smooth waist curve like so. Then use a tracing wheel to go over the folded darts to create a dart extension. I have a tutorial about the importance of the dart extension. I will leave the link down below. After unfolding the darts, the dart extension are level on both the front and back skirt, so there isn't much to do. Then add the 1/2 inch seam allowance to the skirt waist. Okay everyone, we've come to the end of this tutorial. If I have made drafting a basic skirt a little bit easier to understand and helped further your fashion designing experience, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, share and leave your comment down below. Until my next video, bye!